Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Gailda Davis, and I'm delighted to be here today to speak with Lynetta Coney, President of the Foundation for Mott Community College and Executive Director of College and Community Advancement. She's here with us today to accept the 2020 ACE State Network Leadership Award for the Advancement of Women in Higher Education on behalf of the Women in Education Initiative at Mott Community College. This award recognizes an outstanding and innovative program that has helped to advance or support women or women's issues in higher education. So I'm going to ask you first to just tell us a little bit about yourself and your connection to the Women in Education Initiative.
Oh, well, thank you, Gilda. I am a product of Flint, Michigan. However, I left as a student and went to school at Howard University, and I studied journalism. That pathway connected me really to the advertising business by copywriting, but I ended up in a marketing effort where I was account executive in New York City, and I worked on major packaged goods and the like, and then I ended up marrying a gentleman who did not want to move to New York, and he said, "You need to come home because I've purchased a home and I'll get you back to New York." So I came back and I found Mott Community College, which I knew as a youngster growing up, but I found a professional outlet and I found a career path. And I've been here now for 34 years. And I'll say, like my grandmother said before she passed at 103, I haven't had enough of anything when it comes to Mott Community College, because we are always busy with looking at helping our students, and we're always at the forefront. And so that's a little bit about my story. And because I've been very fortunate to have mentors and to have people to have helped me, I need to make sure that I'm teaching my children, well, they're now 27, but any female, any young person, male or female, that it's important to have a network and it's important to have a safety net. And so that's what this Women in Education program has done. It's helped our students.
Awesome. Well, on behalf of ACE and on the ACE Women's Network, I want to extend our congratulations on this award.
Thank you.
Tell us what this award means to you.
This award means everything to me because this is my life's work. My life's work is to look at how we can retain, intervene, gently intervene with students to bring them up to a point where they can go forth and nurture their own families, to have the skill set that's needed. It means a tremendous amount to our college in general. I'd have to say that when we first created this program in 1999, the whole idea of student emergencies and food insufficiency and that type of thing, it was just about to get going, but it's ever most present now. This is a dilemma for our young people and for our college students who are about the average age about 27 years old. So yes, so it means a lot because it is a way that we are rising. All boats, rise all boats rise the tide, or tide rise, whatever. But anyway, we're looking at ways to enhance the skills of our students, because once we can do that for our women, then we can do something for the family. And that is so critical, to start with one. If we can start with one, we know that we can make a major difference for others. So the college is beyond thrilled. And because I have been in this work for many years, this is so gratifying, so very gratifying to see that we can serve as a national model so others can look at this as a prototype and replicate what we're doing, because we've had major success with this.
Absolutely. The program itself is just truly remarkable. For people who aren't familiar with the program, can you tell us a little bit about the initiative and what makes it unique?
Well, yes. Well, we have taken women, and it is for the female student. And I'll tell you a little bit about how we're going to do this with our male students as well. But we have said that, okay, come to us. Firstly, I put out a call that says that if you need crisis funding, non-traditional funding, petition us, send the application in, and we will help you. So it is kind of a twofold piece, so that we help people in general with non-traditional expenses. We know that they can get the Pell Grant and get funding that way, but what about when a person needs childcare? What about if the carburetor of the car goes out? What if the lights are going to be turned off? We are looking at those non-traditional expenses that impact a student's ability to stay in school. And so when I was coming along, I could go to my mom, my dad, my grandmother. I had an extended network. And if I was short on money or resources, they knew how to guide me. They knew how to give me a check, and I could go forward. Our students don't have that ability at this point. Oftentimes, we might have a student and a parent trying to obtain educational goals at the same time. And so we are looking at providing all of those expenses, and I mean all of it. I mean, if there's a need to buy a pair of size 11 shoes, and if we don't have any donated, we'll do that. But to help a student go and get, the job and the job interview. But so that's one piece. So a person can come to us and get crisis funding. We said, well, let's go beyond that. We need to now look at a fellowship program where we work with students beyond just giving them money. Let's work holistically. Let's look at guiding them with the whole idea about etiquette. How do you go to a job interview where it's a white tablecloth and there's all the different cutlery and utensils there? How do you conduct yourself in an interview? How do you balance a checkbook? How do you even think about buying a car, or even how do you even think about lifting that hood and finding out if you need an oil change or what have you? Because we have even done that. We've had workshops where we've gone over and had our tech program help women understand what goes on under the hood. So with that, the fellowship program is such that one comes in. Either we either intercept them when they're about to leave or they're at the beginning. So I say about to leave, maybe they have one more year, or maybe they're going to do 2 years. They come in, they work with our coordinators. And I have to say that there's 2 very wonderful coordinators that I was fortunate enough to convince to come and join me with this. And so they work as the principal programmatic people that will hold these conference calls, because we want people to be accountable. We want the ladies to call in when they're supposed to call in, to come to the meetings when they're supposed to, because that's when there's the enrichment portion of the program, as well as just some sage advice. And so at the end of this, if one has a year left, they get $1,000. If they've got 2 years left, they get $2,000 to go on, and hopefully it is to gainful employment or to the 4-year institution. So it's 2-pronged, crisis funding 1, and 2, we work more intimately with a smaller group. Now, there's also a component called Ellen's Closet. And one of my advisory committee members said, don't name it after me. We said, no, Ellen, Dr. Ellen Howe, you've been wonderful. We want to name this closet after you because of your significant contributions. Well, as it turned out, and it's kind of a sad thing, Dr. Howe passed away, but the beauty is that she knew we were going to name the closet for her. And so the first set of clothing that we had, the gently used clothing was from Dr. Howe. And so now we have donations that come from all over the community, gently used, or there are some people who buy brand new things and they bring that to us. Now, one other little minor thing I want to say is that as you're helping students, your mentors and your volunteers are getting just as much out of the program as those that we want to see fly. You know, when you're exchanging information and you're working with a student, you know, it's very gratifying because it's a two-way street. You're learning from one another, and many times we have a box of Kleenex around because there's tearful stories, but there's also those conquering stories. That's what keeps us going. And so Yeah, so we're looking to continue to expand this, and hopefully one day we can strengthen our male program. But we're talking about women in ed as an awardee, but we want that as a prototype for other female programs and for the male students as well.
Absolutely. There's definitely need all around.
Yeah.
So the program just sounds like you're just doing such wonderful and remarkable work. Tell us about the impact you've seen that the Women in Education Initiative has had on the lives of students that it serves.
Well, let me say this. Firstly, they're lifelong friends that are made from the peer group and from the mentoring group, but we've seen really life-changing circumstances for our students. Um, Everything from perhaps there might be a disability that a student might be bringing, and we've been able to purchase a van that will, based on donations, that would help that student get around, whereas before the student had to wait on what is it, Your Ride, to come and get that person. So, you know, mobility is everything. We've looked at being able to send students and let them fly on over to the four-year institutions. But basically, when we see the changes, we're seeing that if the female has grasped what we're offering, we see it in a trickle-down way with the family as well, because they bring family to it as well. You know, their young children, and every Christmas, we always have a Needful Things donation that the college in general supports, and we give to the entire family. It is up to the student to prepare this wish list. I will say that with any circumstance, you're going to find that there could be domestic abuse. There's a number of stories that could be told, but when there's domestic abuse, oftentimes, you know, the victim doesn't want to see a change or is afraid to change. Well, there's been a bit of confidence that says that I'm better than this, and I'm not going to let this abuser keep me where I am. And so I will do what's necessary to get outside of this and to leave. So we've seen that. There is a student that I really, she was one of our first students that has gone on, and she's a nurse practitioner, and I think has designs on going a little further in the doctoral program. But nonetheless, we have seen significant strides with life-changing attitudes and, of course, experiences. And even the whole idea, you know, I talked about the social graces, you know, going to a high tea. Just going to a high tea is a luxury, but it's something that every person, certainly every woman, should experience. So we do those types of things as well.
Well, it definitely sounds like you've had a tremendous impact on not just the students, but the community as a whole. What has the program accomplished that you feel most proud of?
Well, you know, it's in our students. When I think about having taken a student to the Drake in Chicago for a high tea and seeing the student, you know how when you're kind of chilly, you might take your arms out of your, well, I've seen young people do that. I don't do it. Take your arms out of your shirt and you're cold, and then put your head on the table, on a white tablecloth in this setting. I've seen that. And as I think about that student now, who in 2020, it's taken a while, but in 2020 graduated from the University of Alabama. Person couldn't walk because of, you know, of COVID. But I think about that. I think about students, and I should back up and tell you too, some of the really dire situations have occurred as well, because when you're talking with students, you know, they come to you with the good stories and then the horrid stories. And I'll say that we have been able to get partners from the community to help us. There's a local furniture store that made a donation to us because there was a student who came to us who had been raped on a sofa bed in a little studio apartment. And of course, that student didn't feel comfortable sleeping on that sofa bed. So we were able to get rid of that sofa bed, get new furniture, and start out with counseling and to help. So there's not only, the psychological relief that we're able to get, but we're also able to get those tangible things that maybe you and I could go to the store and buy ourselves, but our students don't have the resources to do that. So when I think about changing the lives, I mean, we talk about life-changing circumstances. This really is. I mean, this is when you have people who care and love to share that love and to share this knowledge with our female students, to the point where these students want to give back. We have an alumni group that says, look, I went through this. I want to help those who are coming behind me. And so we feel like we are onto something that is so very basic, but it is going back to the whole mantra of having people who love you and care enough to spend the time with you. And where there's deficiency or where there's improvement needed, that's where we invest our time.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And it's so needed. What do you see?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to offer this as well because it's so unique and pertinent to the community college experience. This was based on, in terms of its funding, I raised money for the college, and there was a young woman who came to the college and said to me, my mother has passed away, and she raised all of us. I think there were like 8 kids. She raised us, and all of us are educated. She did not get an education, but she came back to Mott. And during the time that she was starting to get her education, she passed away. So at the funeral, all of those donations that came was like the seed money that she brought to me in my office. And that's what started our seed money for this program. And it was a woman who looked at the future and made sure her kids were educated and said, I'm going to do it too. And her daughter came and told us that story. And that was the first donation we had to this program.
That is fantastic. What a remarkable way to really sow, not just have she sewed into her family, they've been sewed into the college. That is so wonderful. Thank you for adding that.
I had to share that piece.
Yeah.
And there are others who want to give. I mean, there are others who give, and of course we do what we can in terms of events and the like. We've done everything from our cultural events where we've had dueling pianos, we've had plays, etc., to bring people closer to the action, so to speak. They need to see the students. And then another salient initiative, which is a two-way street, we had the Family Love Letter, and we invited some 200 women to come to the Family Love Letter. And that was, when you're married and you have a husband, you have 2 people earning the dollars. But if the husband passes away, oftentimes we women don't realize where the resources are, or we don't have the earning power. So we said, let's do a Family Love Letter where not only would we do the estate planning, but we'd put recipes, favorite poems, etc. And every woman that came to the Family Love Letter luncheon brought a pair of pantyhose and some jewelry, because we were deficient in our Ellen's closet in those 2 things that our students need, jewelry and pantyhose. We were getting, the suits and etc. But there again, it was the giving back to the students, but it was also the sharing of this community with the students.
Yeah, I mean, it strengthens the network, not just of the students, but even with those in the community.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Lynetta, I thank you so much for spending this time with us today. And once again, want to congratulate you for your success, but also the college for the successful efforts under the Women in Education Initiative. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about the initiative before we wrap up?
Well, I think that might be it, but let me just say that I am looking forward to talking to others out there at the university and the community college level to see how we can help, because we think we don't know it all, but we feel as though that we're ambassadors to be able to tell the story and the tried and tested techniques that's been used to be able to help launch a program like this. And I will say, we do, you know, an end of year graduation, but the young ladies, the women, they write their own eulogy. Now, have you ever thought about writing your eulogy? What happens between birth and the dash? That is so very heartfelt. And as you look at doing storyboards and the like, a eulogy is so provocative and so telling that that too is a wonderful exercise in helping people understand, what do they want to leave as a legacy? How do they benefit, and what do they do to give back? The reciprocal is always important. You got to give back from whatever you've been given. You've got to give back.
Yeah. And that's such a wonderful reminder for all of us to make sure we're giving back and we're sowing into our community and those around us who may be in need, who may not be as fortunate as we are. So thank you for reminding us about that. Well, again, I want to thank you for this time. Thank you for all the hard work that you do. And we look forward to continue to hearing about the wonderful work that's taking place through the Foundation for Mott Community College and through the Women in Education Initiative.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for this award. On behalf of Mott College, I will be, what is it, September 8th is when we come back. So I'll be singing your praises for saying, good job, Mott College, because we do it because we love it. But it's important for our students who are in the program and those that are alums to understand that they have been recognized as an award-winning program because it's doing great things. So thank you so much. I appreciate this.